Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're sitting in the C-suite, managing a portfolio, or leading long-term operational planning, you don't need me to tell you that artificial intelligence is moving at lightning speed. You already know that. But here's what the latest research and strategic foresight data are pointing to: 2026. That year is shaping up to be the ultimate defining moment. We're talking about a critical inflection point for enterprise AI transformation, human behavior, and frankly, tech resistance. So today, we're putting on our corporate strategy hats. We're going to unpack the upcoming trends that will absolutely dictate how your business operates, how your consumers behave, and exactly where your capital should be flowing over the next few years.
Let's start with a really telling metric: 10%. That is the massive decline in time spent on social media platforms between 2022 and 2024, particularly when we look at younger users. Our source material calls this the offline renaissance, and it makes sense, right? Consumers are just entirely maxed out by polarization, doom scrolling, and this rising tide of AI-generated slop. The digital experience is just getting draining. As a result, people are genuinely shifting their time and attention back into the real world. For any business that relies on digital eyeballs, understanding this 10% drop is literally step one in future-proofing your data-driven strategy.
Okay, let's dive into this. We've structured our briefing today around 5 key pillars to future-proof your business operations. 1. The 2026 strategic inflection. 2. Integrating voice-first operations. 3. Transitioning to world models. 4. Navigating AI enterprise risks. And finally, 5. Health sector capital allocation.
Starting off with Section 1, the 2026 strategic inflection.
We really need to analyze how shifting consumer behavioral incentives are demanding an immediate operational pivot from your company. Because honestly, investing in an offline life, it's becoming the new social flex. We're actually seeing Gen Z drive a huge resurgence in early 2000s flip phones. Yeah, the exact ones that literally cannot download a modern app. And even when people are online, users are migrating away from public feeds and straight into private messaging apps. We see this in the dating world too, where app usage is dropping year over year in favor of offline running clubs, speed dating, and, believe it or not, traditional matchmakers. And listen, big tech knows it. Meta's recent partnership with Amazon to push creator videos to TV screens, that's a massive signal. They realize traffic is moving, so they're bridging their platforms to television streaming. But here's the ironic twist. What's going to push us completely offline is AI itself. As highly reliable AI integrations like Google's Gemini or Apple's Siri become the standard, we simply won't need to physically interact with our screens anymore. You'll just tell your phone to order an Uber or refill the groceries, and it's done.
Which brings us to Section 2, integrating voice-first operations.
And this brilliantly illustrates a phased framework you need to start thinking about. As typing becomes a legacy behavior, businesses absolutely must prepare for a screenless consumer. By 2026, we are rapidly moving toward a voice-first society. We're already seeing less reading and more listening with things like audiobooks. Pretty soon, writing prompts, emails, or texts, that's all going to be replaced by simply talking to your AI. So for your internal business processes, you need to follow these 3 steps. Step 1, audit your text-heavy legacy processes right now. Step 2, begin deploying internal AI agents to handle basic voice queries from your staff. And Step 3, prepare for full screenless workflow integration. Look, if your operations rely on your team or your customers typing into a search bar, you are absolutely going to fall behind. This shift is going to accelerate dramatically with the mainstream arrival of AI smart glasses in 2026. Meta is already heavy in the game, and Apple and Google are fully expected to step in. Now, just like we once doubted smartphones or AirPods, smart glasses will become ubiquitous. Think about it. You aren't going to be scrolling social media with a display literally an inch from your eyes. Instead, you'll communicate via voice with the AI in your glasses, further eliminating those traditional scrolling behaviors. From a corporate strategy standpoint, you are way better off preparing for this screenless consumer right now than scrambling when the hardware officially takes off.
Moving right along to Section 3, transitioning to world models.
Now this is where we look at the technical architecture. We are facing an imminent shift away from our current paradigm of artificial intelligence, and the absolutely crucial point here is understanding the difference between where we are today and where we are going. On the left, we have large language models, or LLMs. These are what power the chatbots we use all the time right now. They work by analyzing massive amounts of textual data and essentially just predicting the next word in a sentence. But here's the catch. The real world doesn't operate just by reading books. It operates on physics. So on the right, we have world models. Rather than predicting the next word, world models build actual simulations of reality that take in visual data, video, and sensor data to truly understand physical dynamics and predict what will happen next in a physical space. The key indicators for transitioning legacy enterprise systems toward these world model architectures by 2026 are already flashing bright red. First off, our current AI is hitting a wall. It has virtually consumed all the high-quality textual data on the internet. Second, the internet itself is getting increasingly filled with AI-generated slop, which means the training data is actually degrading in quality. And finally, there is this massive rising necessity for physical world and sensory simulations. Think about autonomous driverless vehicles or physical robotics in a warehouse. A robot doesn't need to predict the next word. It needs to predict that a baby is walking across the living room or that water is overflowing from a sink. Strategically, you have to account for the market risk of this transition. Depending on exactly where the next breakthrough in world models comes from, it could severely shake up the stock market. We've actually seen this happen before with what our source calls another DeepSeek moment. Remember when the Chinese AI model DeepSeek emerged? It was a cheaper, highly performant alternative that caught everyone entirely off guard, and it temporarily knocked literally trillions of dollars off the US stock market. If the next major architecture breakthrough doesn't come from the standard American tech giants currently leading the pack, you are absolutely going to feel that volatility in your long-term investment planning. Let's turn to Section 4, Navigating AI Enterprise Risks. As technology reshapes the workplace, executives are going to have to manage the human friction that is entirely expected by 2026. As companies continue to right-size and get AI ready, workforce resistance is inevitably going to grow. According to the research in our explainer, we're looking at a culmination of forces that will result in a real backlash. On one hand, employees are facing AI-driven downsizing, and right now there's a pretty stark lack of clear social safety nets or reskilling programs from policymakers. On a deeper, more cognitive level, workers are actually beginning to report feeling like they aren't thinking as critically as before because they're relying so heavily on AI. And on top of that, expect AI to move out from just being generic talking points and step right into the absolute center of political campaigns. We are going to see politicians making highly targeted plans about AI's impact on individual jobs and education. As a corporate leader, you must prepare your change management strategies neutrally and objectively to handle this heightened, multifaceted discourse right within your own walls. And this friction definitely extends to culture in what is being termed the post-reality era. By 2026, we will see massive cultural clashes over AI-generated entertainment. A viral AI song or maybe an AI-generated character is going to split audiences right down the middle between those who fully embrace the new media and those who reject it as an ethical nightmare or just a mockery of real art. But you have to look at where the smart money is going. Major corporate bets, like the billion-dollar deals between Disney and OpenAI, show us that the entertainment industry is already committing serious capital to these new forms of AI creation, completely regardless of the cultural friction. Finally, Section 5, Health Sector Capital Allocation. If you are looking at where the most impactful, long-term technological investments are flowing, look no further than biology. Notice this pivot in capital allocation priorities. While general-purpose LLMs have dominated the mainstream headlines, medical researchers have spent the last few years quietly customizing AI models specifically for biology. We are now seeing capital aggressively shift toward AI architectures entirely dedicated to solving incredibly complex data sets for things like cancer research, neurodegenerative diseases, and autoimmune illnesses. By 2026, the quiet background work of these biology researchers is going to bear some very visible fruit. The world is going to witness massive breakthroughs that position AI not just as some helpful chatbot, but as an absolute medical necessity. It is uniquely poised to fix the systemic issues of speed, exorbitant costs, and a lack of access that plague our current healthcare systems. This is an area where almost everyone actually agrees AI is worth fighting for, and it's creating undeniable, immense enterprise value for long-term health sector growth. So we've covered the offline renaissance, the shift to voice-first operations, the move to world models, enterprise risks, and the medical AI revolution. But I want to leave you with a final, really provocative thought directly from our source material regarding the future of your own work. As AI reshapes everything by 2026, I want you to ask yourself this. If you couldn't rely on your job title to explain what you do, what unique skills and outcomes do you actually make possible for your team or your company? It is a critical question for organizational design, and answering it honestly is without a doubt the best way to future-proof your own personal strategy. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you next time as we continue to break down the strategies shaping our future.